Good morning and welcome back, Broski Nation. It is 7:45 a.m. Hallelujah. There is what I would describe as a squadron of chickadees outside my window this morning. So, if y'all hear some faint whimsical chirps from the birds, hope you don't mind. Oh, you mind the whimsical musings of the birds outside my window this morning? Fuck you. Fuck off. Do you want to know my stem of the week? Because it is Valentine's week, and the crowd makes no reaction. It's Valentine's week! That fucking video. That girl with her friend in the hotel room, she goes, "It's St. Patrick's Day." And her friend says, "We really don't give a fuck. It's not even a major holiday." Acted like it's Christmas is up there. Fuck you and St. Patrick's Day. And her face, she said, "What the fuck? Fuck you and St. Patrick's Day." Fuck you and Valentine's Day, bitch. It's Valentine's Day. No one really gives a fuck. We don't really give a fuck. That's how I feel. I think, oh God, let me rant for a second. Oh God. Oh God. I know I come on this podcast and I just hate men, okay? Not all men. Yeah, pretty much all men, okay? I think that Valentine's Day, speaking from a personal experience, historically has been just so upsetting, right? My first ever boyfriend that I had to beg him to get me flowers. And he came to pick me up. He was going to take me to a nice dinner. I got all dolled up. I spent probably 3 hours in that glam chair. The glam chair being my college dorm. I spent so long getting dressed and doing my makeup, and I got him something, and I was like, all I ask of you is just get me fucking flowers. This motherfucker thought it would be funny. I'm getting that all over again. This motherfucker thought it would be funny to get me one plush flower. And so I hop in his truck, because y'all forget I'm from Texas. I hop in his truck, derogatory, because some pickup truck, President Tomp, if you can hear us. I get in his pickup truck, and in the passenger seat is a plush flower. And he goes, "So I never have to buy you ones ever again." Okay. Motherfucker, fuck you and Valentine's Day, bitch. Men are hey, babe, you're missing the point. Also, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm so sick of just accepting, or a lot of the older women in my family being like, "That's just men. They just didn't get it. They don't get it." No, they get it. They just don't want to fucking do it. No, they understand very clearly. They just don't want to do it. Because they don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck. Plush flower. It was one of those plush flowers that's like wire inside, bendable, so I never have to buy you flowers ever again. Okay. Yes, thank you. Motherfucker. I do have just qualms with Valentine's Day in general, because why were we giving Valentines to each other as children? Okay, I don't understand the significance of what a Valentine is, or as we used to say in 3rd and 4th grade, Valentine. Okay, happy Valentine's Day. It's not even a major holiday. Fuck you and Valentine's Day. Anyway, shit, girl. You wanna know something else about Valentine's Day? You get all dolled up to go to dinner, to go to an expensive dinner with your mid-ass boyfriend, to sit in the booth and eat gut-bubbling pasta and milk sauce, fettuccine alfredo, okay, with some burnt chicken, and then you go home and have the most vanilla sex of your life, and then you go to bed unsatisfied because he had busted and then gone to sleep. That is Valentine's Day for the majority of American women, okay? Now, some of you are being spoiled. Some of you actually have men that care about you. I don't want to hear about that. I really don't give a fuck. We really don't give a fuck. Act like it's a major holiday. Fuck you and Valentine's Day. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to hear about that. I think the majority of women, at least for me, you know, there's not a worse feeling than laying next to someone or sitting next to someone or having someone hold your hand and you just know in the back of your head that, like, they don't see me. Do you know what I mean? Like, this little summer fling that I had, I don't know why I keep talking, I'm feeling really vulnerable with you guys as of late. This little summer fling I had, I don't know, like, I'd be with him and I'd be like, I have no doubt that he enjoys my company because I'm fun to be around and I light up a room. I know this about myself. So that's not, you know, I'm not bewildered by the fact that a man wanted to be around me. Of course you fucking do. But it's to steal my personality, right? Because men like that who want to be entertainers, they want to be charming and likable so fucking bad. They think that latching onto a bad bitch with a stellar personality who is intensely successful, they think that just by being around me it's going to rub off on them. Guess what, babe? It's not. Because you are deeply insecure, okay? You don't know who the fuck you are. And you're getting a little too old for that to be cute. You know what I mean? So, over the summer, I'd be laying next to him, and I remember thinking, he doesn't, like, understand. Like, he's not in tune with my emotions in the way that he thinks he is. And I don't know if he ever was, because he was such a fucking weirdo liar, manipulator. I don't know. And there's not a worse feeling than, like, laying in bed next to someone and feeling alone. I have never felt more alone. I would rather be by myself than sleeping in my bed next to a man who makes me feel alone. And that's what it was. So, fuck Valentine's Day. It's not even a major holiday, but I do want to read sort of the history of it. So, and we're going to go to history.com. Red Bull, if you want to send me more Red Bull that is not watermelon Red Bull, I've been powering through these suckers for the last, what feels like 16 years. Go ahead and send me whatever Red Bull you want because, look, okay, I can't do much more of this. This feels like holographic meatloaf again. I've had a watermelon Red Bull every time I filmed the Broski Report for the last 6 months. Red Bull, if you wouldn't mind sending me some more fuel. Shout out to Red Bull, though. Okay. Remember when I figured out the Red Bull logo was actually a bull? That was a big day for me. That was a big day in Broski Nation history. Okay. It's St. Patrick's Day. Valentine's Day is a holiday celebrated every February 14th. Across the United States and in other places around the world, candy, flowers, and gifts are exchanged between loved ones, all in the name of Saint Valentine. But who the fuck is this mysterious saint? And where did these traditions come from? Find out about the meaning and history of Valentine's Day from the ancient Roman ritual of Lupercalia that welcomed spring to the card-giving customs of Victorian England. Why does every fucking thing go back to Victorian England? Oh my god, you wanna know something I learned recently? Okay, just pause for a second. This is not interesting. This is not like a fact that should be shared amongst friends, but like I guess I care, so this is my podcast, I'm gonna fucking talk about it. I'm still reading Sherlock Holmes. Okay, we get it. I was confused around the succession of the British monarchy, right? Because around the time of, well, honestly, sort of the height of late stage British imperialism, so 1860s to like 1900. I mean, I know that it continues into, I know, okay? And I know that in a certain sense it's still happening. I know that. I'm talking about a specific time period, okay? 1860s, like 1900. Queen Victoria's reign. Now, you always hear about Victorian, or sometimes you hear about Edwardian or Georgian. And I'm always like, who the fuck? Because, you know, there's always like George V, and then now it was Elizabeth II, but then we're up to Edward VII. It's like, who the fuck? And so I was actually sitting on my couch and I was having a conversation with Google. Because I was like, I don't want to Google this, and my phone was in the other room, and so I was talking to Google, my little speaker, and I was getting the information, okay? I was studying, I was doing some research. And I figured out that Queen Victoria's reign is the longest in British monarchical history, with Elizabeth II coming just shy, okay? That bitch reigned, may she rest in peace, I guess. Actually, not really, because she was horrible. She reigned for damn near 60 years? Let me fact check myself. How long did Queen Victoria rule? That bitch reigned for 63 years, 7 months, and 2 days. 1837? Damn! Damn! She was born in 1819. She became queen at age 18 after the death of her uncle, William IV. Okay, anyway. Yeah, 63 years and some change. The longest reign in British history. Oh, just kidding. Queen Elizabeth II surpassed her in 2015. My fault. Because, that is actually true, because Queen Elizabeth was, what is that called? Coronated? Coronated definition. To put a crown on someone's head in an official ceremony. I am a genius. And you know what? That comes from the stem corona, which means crown in Spanish, which is in Latin, because it's a Romance language. So coronated. Corona. Okay. Okay, anyway. Victorian England. You always hear about that. It's because that was for over 50 years that Victorian England was a thing. Queen Victoria died in 1901, and her son Edward took over for 9 years. Edward was a playboy king. He didn't give a fuck about England or the English people. He didn't give a fuck. He reigned for 9 years, died. Shortly after that, George took over. I believe King George VI. Let me see if I'm wrong. Boom. I'm a genius. King George VI. And when King George ruled during World War I and World War II. And so when you hear them talk about God Save the King, that's King George VI. And he wasn't the ugliest monarch that the UK and Northern Ireland has ever had. Okay, he wasn't fugly, I'll say that. He was Queen Elizabeth II's father. Okay, so we have Victoria and Albert. If you ever hear about the Victoria and Albert Theatre, very famous venue in London, that's actually going to be Victoria and Albert, because that was the king and queen. Okay. Queen Victoria, then we have King Edward, then we have King George, then we have Queen Elizabeth, then we have King Charles. Okay, so that's the sort of succession of the British monarchy for the last, 200 years? And I was reading I was reading Sherlock Holmes into the 1900s. He refers to the king, and I was like, what fucking king? And then they would also refer to Victoria, and so that's what kind of led me to Google it. Y'all really don't care. And I also stumbled my way through that, and for that, I apologize. So, if you were ever wondering, when you hear about Victorian England, Victorian, it's because it lasted for, just shy of 70 years. So that's a long time to rule, and it's also a long time to commit atrocities under your name in service of the British Empire. So. Okay, pardon me, there were 2 Georges. Holy shit, there were 2 Georges. King George V ruled the UK from 1910 to 1936. So I wasn't wrong. There was a King George. And then right after that, King George VI from 36 till 52, and then 1952 was Queen Elizabeth II. This is tea, though, because God, obviously imperialism is the bane of, I would say, most atrocities globally and internationally can be traced to imperialism. I think that is a fair statement. Like, most of the evil between peoples historically has come from imperialism or empire and trying to own/destroy other countries and other cultures and other peoples to subjugate them. That has been the bane. The bane of the human existence is the desire for power and the struggle for acquisition of power. I think most things can be traced back to that. I need to take a sociology course, right? I feel like I'd eat that shit up. I took a sociology and psychology course at a community college when I was in college just to, like, get my credit. So I did it locally, and I was tapped the fuck in. No one else in that class gave a fuck, but it was like me and the professor locked in, because he would teach something, I'd be like, well, obviously I have a question. Hey, obviously that doesn't make sense. What are you fucking talking about? And I would sit there and, like, reason with him, and not argue, but, like, discuss. And at one point, he literally goes, I don't know. Okay, sorry. I said, well, how can that be true? He said, I don't know. Okay, I didn't know you weren't doing questions right now. I'm so sorry about that. This poor guy, a community college professor, he goes, can I just get through this fucking lesson? I don't know. Oh, my fault. Continue. Anyway, most struggles between humans, Homo sapiens, if you will, has been for power. And even when you reduce it down to, like, economics or religion or goods and services, whatever, it comes down to power. Who holds the power? And I remember in AP Environmental Science, my senior year of high school, was when I learned about the tragedy of the commons, right? That in nature, all things are balanced. There is a natural homeostasis balance to the animal kingdom, to the food chain, that when there is shared resources amongst a community, everyone only takes what they need. And Native American culture is this way, a lot of pagan cultures were this way, where you only take what you need out of preservation for your community. Because it's a very community-focused and community-based environment. Well, introducing ideas like this, where I will own the land, the resources, the people, the rights, the this, the that, the other, that introduces this new mindset of me, myself, and I, selfish, and so that, when I learned about the tragedy of the commons, I was like, that's so fucking true. That is so true, dude. And we see it, right? At the beginning of COVID, when everyone bought up all the toilet paper and they were selling it for $50 a fuck. What are we talking about? It's no respect for your fellow man. And then it spirals into, the British Empire. So, going back to Valentine's Day. Okay. So this Valentine's Day developed during the Victorian era. Did not know that. The history of Valentine's Day and the story of its patron saint, Saint Valentine, is shrouded in mystery. We do know that February has long been celebrated as a month of romance, and that St. Valentine's Day, as we know it today, contains vestiges of both Christian and ancient Roman traditions. The Catholic Church recognizes at least 3 different saints named Valentine or Valentinus, all of whom were martyred. One legend contends that Valentine was a priest who served during the 3rd century in Rome. When Emperor Claudius II decided that single men made better soldiers than those with wives and families, he outlawed marriage for young men. What? Valentine, realizing the injustice of the decree, defied Claudius and continued to perform marriages for young lovers in secret. Oh my God! When Valentine's actions were discovered, Claudius ordered that he be put to death. Still, others insist that it was St. Valentine of Terni, a bishop who was the true namesake of the holiday. He, too, was beheaded by Claudius II outside Rome. And fuck Claudius II! Did y'all see my TikTok? I did a little book haul. Oh my God, I got this book called God's Bankers. inside the finances of the Vatican and the Catholic Church. Oh my God! Oh my God! I'll let y'all know about that as soon as I start it. I was walking through, there's this crazy bookstore by my house, and I was like, let me pop in here. All used books. Shout out. Love that. And I also love that because you go through and you find bookmarks and photos and tickets and underlined sections and annotations, and it's just a magical experience. I can't really put into words other than like what that experience instills in me, other than it makes me zoom out. You know, we are so navel gazing and we're so focused on ourselves a lot of the time. And it goes back to what I was just talking about, of we are not a community-based people anymore. It's me, myself, and I, and that is so isolating and lonely. I don't know any of my neighbors. I don't know any of my neighbors. And that makes me sad. But why? Like, why is that the case? You know, why do I feel like I'm always on edge, or I should be, you know, head on a swivel and whatever? Well, I live in Los Angeles, that's probably why. Objectively dangerous place. But at the same time, my neighbors aren't dangerous people unless they have freezers full of human body parts. But how am I supposed to know that? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think that I love used bookstores for that reason, because you can go in and the way that someone annotates a book or uses a book, or the state that it's found in, you know, was this ever even read? You can tell. So I think that all of that is part of the experience of going to a bookstore. I was getting some of these books for $5. Hell fucking yeah. Because you go to Barnes & Noble or Books A Million or any of these stores, and you get books for $30. $30 for one book, that's a lot of fucking money. And I understand if it's a new release, if it's your favorite authors, you know, the third installment of the trilogy of the House of Blood, and I get it. But $30? I was at this bookstore, I was boom, boom, boom. I walked out with 8 books. I spent $50 total. That's what I'm fucking talking about! That's what I'm talking about! Okay, so, really cute. But in this God's Bankers book, there's no annotations. And I was like, okay. But in my copy, I got a copy of A Clockwork Orange. It's annotated down. And I was like, yeah! Very excited about that. Also, some of y'all told me that Clockwork Orange has its own language that I need to, it's like Simlish that I need to kind of lock into. And so I found, on Google.com, I found a glossary of all the sort of translated words and terms from A Clockwork Orange. And, you know, I love reading old books like this, and it sucks doing it outside the confines of an academic environment because I'm kind of left to my own devices, which is both good and bad, right? Because I can take my own takeaways or my own interpretations of what I find the text to mean, how it impacts me as an individual. But at the same time, I wish that there was this added level of, like, I have to write an essay about it, or I have to connect dot A to dot D, you know, like, using my brain in that sort of way and having it be graded. I do miss that aspect of it, where that's a missing chunk. When I read a book as important as A Clockwork Orange, or East of Eden, or Animal Farm, or Brave New World, Heart of Darkness, any of these books, it's like, I wish that there was, like all things in life, I wish there was an instructor I could ask questions to, and I wish there was someone to grade my work. Maybe I want to go back to school. Maybe that's what I just kind of admitted to myself there. That's cool. But you know what I mean, where, sure, you can sit with a book and read it. You can read A Clockwork Orange on the train, but that doesn't mean you are getting from it what you should or what was intended, or, you know, you might be missing the most important part. I think for me, I'd like to think that I have the wherewithal to read a book like that and be like, this is the meaning, you know? But even in Animal Farm, if I didn't have the background of this was loosely based on the Russian Revolution, then, you know, I would have been like, damn, that's a crazy book about fascism. Crazy book. Like, I still would have gotten it, but the specific sort of, you know, this was Trotsky, this was whoever, that stuff is important to me for a contextual, complete, 100% understanding of the book that I'm reading. And I feel like I don't. I know there's actually probably study guides. And I used to use Cliff's Notes. Wait, you want to know something really cute? I have my mom's Cliff Notes pamphlets from the 80s and the 90s when she was in high school and college that are printed versions of what, I used to use Cliff Notes in high school, the website, where it would, take Taming of the Shrew, or, the hard-ass Shakespeare to read, and it would break it down into synopsis, by chapter, characters, important characters, their lore, what page X was on, important quotations, all that stuff. We're to the point, almost, they make it too easy, where you don't even have to read the fucking play. You don't have to read the book. That's not the goal for me. I would like some supplemental reading material that is peer-reviewed and approved to use as a study guide. So I think I might do that for Clockwork Orange. If y'all, that's such a specific request. If you guys have a study guide for Clockwork Orange, send it to me, okay? Or put it in the comments under this YouTube video. Let me know. Okay, anyway, Valentine's Day. What the hell? Oh, I was talking about God's Bankers. Yeah, I'm very excited to read that book. God's Bankers provides an exhaustive history of financial machinations at the center of the church in Rome. From the final decades of the 19th century down to Pope Francis's sincere but as yet inconclusive efforts to reform the church's labyrinthine bureaucracy. From there, Posner weaves an extraordinarily intricate tale of intrigue, corruption, and organized criminality. The cumulative effect of Posner's detective work is an acute sensation of disgust, along with a mix of admiration for and skepticism about Pope Francis's efforts to reform the Vatican Bank and its curial enablers. Crazy. Okay. Valentine's Day. Fuck! Okay, so our Saint Valentines were beheaded by Claudius II. Okay. Other stories suggest that Valentine may have been killed for attempting to help Christians escape harsh Roman prisons, where they were often beaten and tortured. According to one legend, an imprisoned Valentine actually sent the first Valentine greeting himself after he fell in love with a young girl, possibly his jailer's daughter, who visited him during his confinement. Before his death, it is alleged that he wrote her a letter signed, "From your Valentine," an expression that is still in use today. Oh my god, that's so sad. Although the truth behind the Valentine legends is murky, the stories all emphasize his appeal as a sympathetic, heroic, and most importantly, romantic figure. By the Middle Ages, perhaps thanks to his reputation, Valentine would become one of the most popular saints in England and France. Some claim that the Christian church may have decided to place... It's always fucking religion. It is always religion. Others claim that the Christian church may have decided to place St. Valentine's feast day in the middle of February in an effort to Christianize the pagan celebration of Lupercalia. Am I saying that right? Lupercalia. Celebrated at the Ides of February, or February 15th, Lupercalia was a fertility festival dedicated to Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, as well as to the Roman founders Romulus and Remus. To begin the festival, members of the Luperci, an order of Roman priests, would gather at a sacred cave where the infants Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome, were believed to have been cared for by a she-wolf, or lupa. They were cared for by Shakira, she-wolf, and by Lupa, a wolverine, a werewolf. The priests would sacrifice a goat for fertility and a dog for purification. No. They would then strip the goat's hide into strips, dip them into the sacrificial blood, and take to the streets, gently slapping both women and crop fields with the goat hide. Okay. Okay. What? Far from being fearful, Roman women welcomed the touch of the hides because it was believed to make them more fertile in the coming year. Later in the day, according to legend, all the young women in the city would place their names in a big urn. The city's bachelors would each choose a name and become paired for the year with his chosen woman. These matches often ended in marriage. What the fuck? Is romance in marriage a new concept? I understand that marriage for the longest time was a almost political or financial union between families, right? Like the wife's, the bride's father would pay the groom a dowry, and the wife would now take the groom's name and become a part of, you know what I mean? Like, it was a flow of power, an exchange of money for a union. When was romance introduced? Humans are very romantic beings. So when did people start marrying for love? What the fuck? This is crazy. Sometimes you look up the history of shit like this and you're like, I didn't want to know that. I'd be fine if it was just like Snoopy Candy Graham. If it was just like Snoopy and Woodstock holding a Valentine like, love you. That's a lot more palatable than slapping women with goat hides. What are we talking about? Okay. Lupercalia survived the initial rise of Christianity, but was outlawed, as it was deemed unchristian at the end of the 5th century, when Pope Gelasius declared February 14 St. Valentine's Day. Damn, we've had Valentine's Day since 400 BC, 400 AD. And did I think that AD meant after death? Yeah. And BC means before Christ. Okay. It was not until much later, however, that the day became definitively associated with love. During the Middle Ages, it was commonly believed in France and England that February 14 was the beginning of birds' mating season, which added to the idea that the middle of Valentine's Day should be a day for romance. The English poet Geoffrey Chaucer was the first to record St. Valentine's Day as a day of romantic celebration in his 1375 poem, Parliament of Fowls, writing, "For this was sent on St. Valentine's Day, when every fowl cometh there to choose his mate." 1375. That is nutso to me. Valentine greetings were popular as far back as the Middle Ages, though written valentines didn't begin to appear until after 1400. Well, that makes sense because the populace was illiterate. The oldest known valentine still in existence today was a poem written in 1415 by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London. Now, let me tell you something about the Tower of London. One of the most haunted fucking places in the world, probably. Some horrid, abhorrent, evil shit has gone down in the Tower of London. The greeting is now part of the manuscript collection of the British Library in London, England. Several years later, it is believed that King Henry V hired a writer named John Lydgate to compose a Valentine note to Catherine of Valois. Don't give a fuck. Okay, this is nuts. I had no idea that it's been celebrated that long. Okay, let's talk about modern-day Valentines. In addition to the United States, Valentine's Day is celebrated in Canada, Mexico, the UK, France, and Australia. In Great Britain, Valentine's Day began to be popularly celebrated around the 17th century. By the end of the 18th century, it was common for friends and lovers of all social classes to exchange small tokens of affection or handwritten notes. And by 1900, printed cards began to replace written letters due to improvements in printing technology. Ready-made cards were an easy way for people to express their emotions in a time when direct expression of one's feelings was discouraged. Oh my God. Cheaper postage rates also contributed to an increase in the popularity of sending Valentine's Day greetings. Americans probably began exchanging handmade valentines in the early 1700s. Today, according to Hallmark, an estimated 145 million Valentine's Day cards are sent each year, making Valentine's Day the second largest card-sending holiday of the year. More cards are sent at Christmas. Fuck you and Valentine's Day. Ah, yes, learning that a beloved holiday is rooted in suffering. Most are, okay? So when you're celebrating Valentine's Day this year, make sure to get your significant other a plush flower so you never have to buy them one ever again. Make sure that you buy them a Hallmark card, okay? Let's get some more plastic out there in the world. Let's get some more paper with plastic embellishments on it, okay? Let's send that off. Definitely don't hand make anything. Definitely don't pick flowers from your yard or your garden. Don't do that. Okay, let's get some more microplastics out in the environment. I've tried all the fucking tricks. I've tried layering it with a lotion that smells similar. I've tried using Vaseline. I've tried doing all this bullshit. If the fragrance does not last long, that's the fragrance's fault. It's not my fault. I can try to do other things to make it last longer. At the end of the day, it's a weak fragrance. On the flip side, perfume houses like Killian, that shit will last 4 days. If you spray that shit on a sweater, it's never coming out until you wash it. But this is why I'm like, I don't believe you when you're like, it's just user error. No, it's not. Because some fragrances really have a staying power and they're beautifully made. Killian fragrances are so unique and so wonderful. Love Don't Be Shy is famously, isn't that what Rihanna wears? Beyonce wears Killian. It's like just the most luxurious feminine fragrances that have depth to them. But sometimes Killian fragrances can be kind of overpowering almost. And so I want to be somewhere in the middle. My favorite perfume of all time is probably Les Longues Frondes by Maison Louis Marie. It's number 2. And it is just something I really don't know how to describe it other than it's a fresh version of rich hotel lobbies. Let's look up the notes. I'm going to read you the notes, and I want you to keep an open mind because this shit smells so good. Oh my god, I forgot my 2 most favorite notes. Hinoki wood. I love Hinoki. And let me tell you something about Heretic Parfums. They make one called Scandalwood. Oh my god. Scandalwood might be one of my favorite scents of all time, but again, it doesn't last. And this one doesn't last either. And I've tried. I even bought the perfume oil from Maison Louis Marie, and I put the perfume oil under it. That makes it last a bit longer, and then you spray it on top. But even then, I'm talking 2 hours, and it's gone. Versus, I have Angel Share by Killian. Motherfucker, you spray that shit at 9 a.m., at 9 p.m., you're still like, damn. Damn. And it's strong. So here, you know what I'm saying? Okay, Hinoki wood, patchouli, and cedarwood. Patchouli is, and if you are a fragrance girl, you know this, it's hit or miss. They always talk about you either love patchouli or you fucking hate patchouli. Patchouli on its own, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think it smells too much like a bonfire. But when it's mixed in with some of these other like woody notes or kind of like milky or musk, or even with patchouli and then like a floral on top, oh, I'm there. Oh, I'm locked the fuck in. It just has to be done right, and it can't smell cheap. This is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Here are the full notes: Hinoki wood, cedarwood, patchouli, white musk. That's it. Love! And also, Scandalwood, the one by Heretic Parfums, they make one called Nosferatu. They made a Nosferatu scent. And it's interesting. It wasn't my favorite, but it was definitely interesting because I bought their little sample pack. Oh my god. And Heretic also makes one called Dirty Hinoki. Oh! And they make one called Floorgasm. Oh! So good. Okay, some other favorite scents of mine. In that vein, DS and Durga makes some beautiful fragrances. They have one that is meant to be a layering fragrance, but I used to wear it by itself. It's called I Don't Know What. That's the name of the fragrance, because it's supposed to be a play on the French je ne sais quoi. You know, it's got this je ne sais quoi. And so when you tell people, oh, what are you wearing? It's literally called I Don't Know What. Anyway, that one is a fantastic, it's just, let me think if I know the notes. It's just like a musk. I don't know what DS and Durga. And I fucking love bergamot. Anything bergamot, I'm tapped in. And that's what this is! I'm so smart. Top notes: bergamot essence. Heart notes: vetiver and iso. And the base notes are civitone, fursantal, and ambrox super. I hate when they do this shit. Like, what does that mean? I'm gonna go ahead and infer that it's bergamot, vetiver, amber, santal, and 2 other things that they decided to make really not understandable. So Diaz and Durga also makes one called Gateau Blackout, one of the most crazy fragrances I've ever smelled. And I do that when I'm going out drinking, because that's like a whoa. Who is that? Who smells good? But it's not like hot girl. It's like rich model. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a very non-traditional fragrance. Let me look up the notes for Gateau Blackout. Oh, it's a cherry fragrance. That's why. That makes sense. Black cherry, snow pine, incense, cocoa, jasmine flowers, Eris Absolute, vanilla, friend's musk, fireplace. It is so good, y'all. It's warm, but it's also spicy. So good. Some other ones that I've been into lately, these are kind of more masculine. Tom Ford makes one called Bois Pacifique, which I'm pretty sure means Pacific wood, Pacific forest. If this is a cologne, it's a cologne. But I think they market it as androgynous. It's great. I'll wear it by itself. It's very warm and rich. And then Parfum de Mali, they make that famous, beautiful bottle. Put it up here. That rose. It's the rose one by Parfums de Mali. And their bottles are super iconic. I think that they're a beautiful fragrance house, but I just hate rose. I fucking hate rose. I am not a rose girl. Rose ruins a fragrance for me, but sometimes tuberose. I'll look into that. Sometimes I do like that. If we're doing florals, I like jasmine. I love jasmine, but you cannot make the jasmine powdery, then it smells like grandma. And a great example of a jasmine fragrance that is not grandma is Dosun by Diptyque. Oh! That's one of my favorites of all time as well. Dosun is this beautiful floral with a little bit of musk in it that they sell as a hand lotion, a perfume, an eau de toilette. They have it in a bunch of different options, but it's a good summer fragrance, like spring, summer. It honestly reminds me of London because that's where I bought it. And it just, being outside, and I don't do floral. I am not a floral girl, but Dosun is my one exception. It is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And if you want a sort of cheaper alternative, I would suggest Florgasm from Heretic Perfumes. They smell very similar. Florgasm's a bit more like grassy, but oh, they're both beautiful. That is, I swear to God, the one floral that I have in my collection that I'm like, damn, it's good. Another one of my favorite, the Parfum de Marly one I was going to say, it's called Levant. Parfum de Marly. Leighton, sorry. Leighton. Oh, wonder what the top note is. You guessed it, it's bergamot. This seductive amber and floral fragrance with an intense olfactory signature opens with bergamot and its tangy passion, while lavender and geranium blend into a fresh note, chic and chivalrous all at once. I would agree with that, because it kind of hits you at first as a cologne, and then it settles, and it's like, it's a perfume. The intensity of the Eau de Parfum is further amplified by amber, enhanced by the natural elegance of pink pepper. Distinguished and addictive, Leighton's character is further carried by vanilla and precious woods, which develops through an intriguing note of caramelized coffee. And if you know about Michelle Visage's perfume recs, her favorite of all time is that coffee fragrance by something Addict. Is it called Coffee Addict? She loves the coffee fragrance. And I know she also likes that one by Penhaligon's called Helfetti. And I was in the airport the other day, and where was I? Oh, I was in Paris, and I was in the, they always have those perfume shops. I was like, let me go in here and see what's going on. They had a Penhaligon set up because they don't have those in stores here in the States. So I went over and I smelled all of them. Those bottles are fucking beautiful. It looks like an English country house, like a country manor, and it's all themed like that, like the animal heads or the taxidermy, whatever, and all of the branding is very, it's very British nobility, whatever. The fragrances are beautiful though, and I smelled Helfetti. I get it, Michelle. That one is gorgeous, but it wasn't what I thought it would be. I don't know what it was. I think it smelled too similar to a different fragrance I had smelled, or someone I know who wears a fragrance like that, and I was just like, it's not doing it for me. But on paper, all the notes are beautiful. So let me look up what that one was. Halfeti. And it is going to be $300. Okay. This is Halfeti by Penhaligon's. An intoxicating, mysterious fragrance. Vigorous grapefruit, oud, levantine spice, and rose tangle in the moonlight. Maybe that's what I didn't like. I don't like rose. But what's that upon the riverbank? Could it be the fabled black rose? Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely, it's deep and warm, and it's got some of that, like the dry down was nice, but there was something in it, I was like, And here's another one. Diptyque has one called, what is it called? This one, Bois Cossé? Bois Cossé? This has a note of hazelnut in it, so this one should be my favorite fragrance of all time. But it's not. I went into Diptyque and I sprayed it, and it has so many beautiful notes. The bottle is done, but the dry down, I didn't end up buying it because I left the store. I was getting a gift for someone else, and I left the store with it on my skin, and I kept smelling it the rest of the day, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of glad I didn't get it, because there's some note in it that did not, because you know it all comes down to your pH and how it interacts with your skin specifically. It can smell beautiful on someone else and weird as fuck on you. And that's what happened. I think that some acid in my skin reacted with this perfume in a way that just ended up smelling like a turtlet. It smelled like a turtlet. Écossais is French for bark. Cossé means full-bodied, like the coffee aroma celebrated here. So it's coffee. The bottle is decorated with fine black lines inspired by the reliefs found in bark. The irregular forms on the sleeve evoke the texture of wood. Fragrant note: Café Arabica, so coffee, sandalwood, tonka bean. But some dude at the Diptyque store told me it had hazelnut in it, and I think that's what I don't like, because I don't know. If y'all ever smell this, let me know what you think, because it's a very interesting fragrance, but something was up. Another one of my favorite fragrances of all time is Vanille Antique by Byredo. If you're looking for that perfect vanilla, and I don't mean sugary sweet vanilla, marshmallow this, caramel that. If you want that, go to Sol de Janeiro. Go get the Cheirosa or the traditional, bum cream, that smell, or any of those numbers, like 71, 62, whatever. Those are great if you're looking for like a very topical, almost teenager-y sweet smell. Vanille Antique. Mama, that's a woman. That is a woman with money, cash money. It is the most beautiful vanilla fragrance I've ever smelled. I keep saying warm, but those are the fragrances I like, where you hug someone and you're like, God, you smell delicious. It's deep, it's depth, there's layers to it. It's not just, oh, she smells like candy. I don't want to smell like candy, I want to smell like sex in a hotel lobby. And so, Vanilla Antique, it is by far the most impressive vanilla I've ever smelled. And you want to know someone else I love? I love his reviews. Daniel Rene. I follow him on TikTok. He came out with his own fragrance that I bought because I love him so much, and he described all these notes in it, and it sounded like Dosun mixed with something else, and I was like, I have to try this. And he's such a salesman, bitch. That was what I was like, fuck! I spent $175 on this fragrance. Damn, I've never smelled it. I did a blind buy because I love him. And if it smells like shit, Daniel, I'm gonna be pissed off. I don't believe it'll smell like shit because it's from a niche, independent fragrance house. I believe it's French, and he developed it in tandem with this company. The bottle's beautiful. I'm excited to smell it. So if y'all want, I can give you a little review on the pod because I'm very excited about that fragrance. One of the notes in it is a vanilla cake. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna lock into that because when I hear vanilla cake, that gives me some like, it's not vanilla frosting. It's got some bottom to it, right? There's a bottom in it. The fragrance has bottomed. So I'm excited to try that out. I'll let you guys know. I think it's called Illusio. Okay, I think that'll do it for me, team. I love y'all to goddamn death. Red Bull, I can't do the watermelon anymore. Please send me something else. Please send me something else. If y'all want merch for this beautiful, informing, informational, academic podcast, go to broski.shop. We've got muumuus, we've got slippers, we've got Broski Report merch. We've also got a restock of muumuus. So go in right now. If you did not get a muumuu or you ordered one and you had to wait a while for it to ship, they were all being made by hand. So they are back. They are in stock. Go get you some muumuus and slippers. Go watch my interview show, Royal Court. We've got some psychotic guests on there. If you have not seen the Aaron Taylor Johnson Royal Court episode, go ahead and watch that for me. If y'all don't mind, go ahead and watch it for me. I think that'll do it for me. Hey guys, just doing a quick millennial cringe warm-up this morning. Okay guys, here's my 5-step millennial cringe facial warm-up for the morning. You're gonna hit one of these. Then you're gonna hit one of these. Oh my god, they used to love that one. Where you tuck your front lip. So if you've got a front lip, where's your back lip, do you think? I can show you some back lip. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, yeah, they used to tuck their top lip up under their gums so their teeth, it looks like a rat. Yeah, I used to hit that one in middle school sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie, I used to hit that one. And I was like, God, I'm killing them. I'm killing them. And can I be honest, I get some of those millennial cringe compilations on Instagram. I watch them all the way through every time. And I am overcome with a sort of primal rage. It's like a train wreck though, like I have to watch them. I don't really have a choice. Okay guys, lots to cover today. Welcome back to the Broski Report, starring me, your host, Brittany Broski, occasionally Timothy Chalamet, okay? Only other person who's ever been on this show, Timothy Chalamet. So just note that. Some things really quickly. I did have a cortado this morning. Okay, now figured out what that is. That's gonna be 3 shots of espresso, steamed oat milk. And if you have never smelled what heated up oat milk smells like, I wouldn't recommend it. That shit about made me gag. Okay, tastes fine, but then again, oat milk I guess is bad because there's palm tree oil in it. I don't know. Everything I consume is made of plastic. Turning into a fucking plastic carton. There's plastic in my blood. I don't know. Everything's like,
have you tried the viral milk replacement? Fucking macadamia nut milk.
And I'm like, oh, great. So I guess oat milk's out. So I go look up what's in macadamia nut milk plastic. Oh, perfect. So this plastic's better for me than the other plastic. Okay, thank you for clearing that up. What the fuck? And also, what are you gonna do? Go to a coffee shop and be like, half a teaspoon of macadamia nut milk, please? I hate that feeling. Can I get the milk alternative? My tummy, I'd be shitting. Like that's like when you order a milk replacement, a milk alternative, you are admitting to the cashier that you are of a weak breed. Could I get the oat milk? Okay, you are at the bottom of the food chain. That's what you're admitting, okay? My gut bubbles when I smell milk. That's what you're telling them. You're communicating that in a roundabout way. And there's something very humiliating about that. It's a humiliation ritual, okay? When I'm like, could I get the almond milk? Oh, you're a puss? Yeah, sometimes my butthole kind of bleeds when I poop. Sometimes I have milk and then the rest of my day's ruined. I have to stay home. Oh, not the cow milk for me. I'll actually have a fucking reaction. Yeah, I had a cortado. I guess it was okay. 3 shots of espressos, you know, that'll do it. And I had that about 30 minutes ago, so I don't know. How long does it take coffee to kick in, for real? How long does it take coffee to kick in? Within 10 to 30 minutes, but can take up to 60 minutes. Okay, great. The peak concentration of caffeine in the blood occurs after about 45 minutes. Y'all, once again on this podcast, I am a ticking time bomb. Also, the last 2 episodes, I filmed in the same day. Surprise. I took an edible for one of them, and then I filmed, and it kicked in halfway through, and then I filmed the second episode, so I was just hiring a damn guy. And I did not even, I watched it back, and I was like, good lord. I really thought, I was like, they can't tell. Yay, you can tell. Hey, yeah, you can tell. Anyway, did a cortado, and now I'm working through these, okay? Red Bull sent me these for free, these watermelon fucking, and I made the mistake, because I'm only human, and I bleed when I have a milk. They sent me these, it's watermelon Red Bull. Well, of course, the first time that I had ever tried this was in a sort of watermelon Red Bull vodka that I made myself, that I almost puked up later. So naturally, when this sort of flavor combo hits my palate, I want to gag. And that is not Red Bull's fault. It's certainly sort of Pavlovian conditioning that I've done to myself. Where, you know, every time I taste the watermelon Red Bull, I also taste Tito's vodka. And I am a fan of both of those things individually, but not together. I would not recommend. Because on TikTok, people were like,
Watermelon Red Bull vodka? It's basically like a watermelon Jolly Rancher.
and I was like, candy! And me, as a 27-year-old woman, was like, candy in my drink! Yes! Candy, candy. 27. Okay, walk, don't run. Wait, run, don't walk to try the watermelon Jolly Rancher fucking sugary drink. Sugary poo-poo in your diaper drink. Me like, okay, where can I find that? I just picked a wedgie. Okay, so update on that is I'm about 3 espresso shots and a watermelon Red Bull deep. And once again, how much caffeine is in a Red Bull? 80 milligrams per 8.4 fluid ounces. What is this? This is 8.4 fluid ounces. What is 80? That's really not a lot. That's less than a cup of coffee. How much caffeine in an espresso shot? 64. Okay, so let's do 64 calculator. 64 times 3 plus 80. Fuck me. Okay, so okay, you got 272 milligrams of caffeine right now in my system. Yay! Okay, yay! Wait, that's awesome. What's the daily max? 400? I've googled this countless times. Daily caffeine limit 400. Can pregnant ladies not have caffeine? What, is that gonna make your baby like have ADHD? Can pregnant women have caffeine? Yes, pregnant women can consume caffeine in moderation. Excessive caffeine consumption during pregnancy, over 300 milligrams a day, has been linked to an increased risk of premature birth. I did not know that. Good thing I'm not pregnant! Okay. What the fuck was I talking about? Okay, so those are the sort of things I wanted to get out of the way before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the episode, because I'm about to go hog wild. I'm about to go pork and beans on this microphone. If y'all could sniff this microphone, I don't think you'd ever listen to this podcast again. Actually, it doesn't smell that bad. That was sort of just an intrusive thought of like, I've actually spit on this thing. What? I've hucked to it on this thing. Like, what the hell? So many times. It doesn't smell that bad, but like, surely no one else would want to sit here. You know what I mean? Okay. Here's some housekeeping. Very, very quickly. Of course, the last 2 episodes were pre-Trump inauguration. Hey, I didn't realize how bad it was going to get, okay? But a message to the general populace, especially during Black History Month, is that he does not have as much power as he would like us to believe. There are still laws and regulations in this country to keep him in check. Of course, he's sort of blasting through these executive orders, but ultimately, there are 3 branches of government to keep that power in check. So, I know it's a hard sort of piece of advice to be like, trust in the powers that be, because of course, you know, they're not really looking out for our best interests, and that's just sort of well known. But at the same time, all these fucking, you know, constitutionalists, and all these like, freedom is the biggest, okay, just we have to have faith that, like, he will not win, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? So my message is, have faith, and keep the hope, and we move forward. And that's honestly a segue point into something I want to talk about later, which is books, because I have book recommendations. But we'll move on from fuck Donald Trump to happier news. Congratulations to Beyonce, Giselle, Knowles Carter for winning the Grammy for Album of the Year after 4 snubs. 4 snubs. She has been nominated 4 times for Album of the Year. 4 years. Snubs. Lemonade did not win Album of the Year the year that it was nominated. I digress. Cowboy Carter had one. Okay? Now, the cultural significance of Cowboy Carter, I'm not the one to actually speak on it. You know what I mean? And, well, actually, I have. Go watch the Cowboy Carter episode, because I spoke on it. This is so, like, you want to talk about deserving. You want to talk about the most, like, heavily awarded Grammy-winning artist of all time. Thank you, Beyonce. Okay? And there's really nothing else to say. How about the look of shock on her face? I love her so much. I love her so much. And the tour was announced? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, let me see if I can go. Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, I'm probably going to hit 2 or 3 days. Okay. What the fuck? Okay, 2 more things really quick that are just completely unrelated. In the vein of music, there is a YouTube video called Morning Jazz Playlist to Start Your Day. And the thumbnail is Snoopy making a sandwich. And I cannot recommend this video to you people enough. This video provides me a sense of calm and peace in the morning that I just cannot. I'm on this wave now where I'm trying not to listen to music with words in it. I'm trying not to listen to too much music with words in it. Okay, I'm doing a lot of classical. I'm doing a lot of exciting classical, Tchaikovsky and like Bach, okay, and Strasberg, and I'm also doing a lot of bossa nova. Then I do some of this, like smooth jazz for cooking, or morning jazz to get your day started. And I'll do my little ballet stretches, because here's another thing that I've discovered. Because I haven't talked to y'all in a while. I've been gone. I was in Paris, and now I'm back, stateside. There is a plethora of YouTube videos on YouTube that I just get recommended on my homepage. But essentially, it's morning warm-up bar. You know how ballerinas will warm up at the bar, that little bar, doing the little pliés and stretching and whatever, and warming up their ankles and whatever. They put those for the Royal Ballet School in London, and I think 2 other ballet schools. Sometimes they'll put the full hour-long warm-up on YouTube. Of course, I don't really know what they're doing, so I can't follow along, but it's a good sort of motivator. Well, I'll put that on while I'm in bed, still waking up in the morning, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. Get up. Let's stretch. You know what I mean? So I'll do that. And they always play classical, like piano in the background to warm up to, like, exciting piano. And it's good. It's good for me, I think. Because here's my one qualm I've had with Bar Method. I love Bar Method. But they play, like, fucking, if I love, that sort of shit. Like, I don't want to hear Bad Habits by Ed Sheeran dubstep remix while I'm trying to work out. I don't want to hear that. Bar Method also is very ballet inspired. Like, you do have to fucking work out on the bar. I love Florence and the Machine, but I don't want to hear Dog Days Are Over Radio Z remix. You know what I mean? No, what's that? They play that with dogs. Say my name. They play that song and I say, because I love Florence and the Machine, but I don't want to hear Florence Welch at 8 a.m. when I'm like, oh fuck. Okay, I have to be tapped the fuck in to listen to Florence and the Machine. Okay, anyway, I digress. Yeah, I wish they played more classical music, which I'm not gonna sort of fall on that sword. I'm not gonna go up to the instructor and be like, hey, love what you're doing up there. A bit more Tchaikovsky would be nice. Thanks. I'm not gonna do that. Also, I'm not gonna say I'm the youngest woman in my bar method class, but I look around a lot and I'm like, all these women are 40 and 50. Like, older than me, doing it easier than I am. I'm huffing and puffing and going, oh my God. They're in the corner with their leg wrapped around their neck and they're doing this and they're in a full split. And I'm like, oh my God. But it's possible you can get there. And I would get there faster if they could play Tchaikovsky while I'm trying to do my shit. While I'm trying to freak my shit on the bar, okay? While I'm busting my shit open on the bar. Just play Tchaikovsky. Okay, anyway. Yeah, I just think it's good for me. I think that type of music's good for me. It calms me. Because I'm pretty high strung these days. I'm pretty high strung. I can't really get my shit under control. The first order of business for real that I like to bring to y'all's plate is I need a man with a mustache to worship the ground I walk on. Let me indulge you. I saw this TikTok, okay? And then I saw a YouTube short of the same sort of digital creator. And he was British. And he looked like Tom Selleck. And he was doing like a running video, but it was like a meme. Can I say like one more time? I'm about to piss myself off. Caffeine's about to kick in. I'm gonna watch this back and say, why do I need to go to a speech therapist? Like? But here's the thing too, is like, okay. It's so ingrained in our vernacular, I can't stop saying it. It's a crutch word. It's how I communicate. And now I'm hyper aware of it. And I'm going to struggle for the rest of this episode to not say like every fourth word. It's like when you become aware that you're saying shut up. Okay. What was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, this dude, I don't even know his name. But I saw him and I got pissed off. Because I was like, I was doing so good. I'll come on this fucking podcast and speak into this very microphone that I'm speaking into right now and be like, men are the bane of society. The world would be better without fucking men. And then I see one video of a man with a mustache and I say, oh God. Oh Jesus. Men to me are like mythical creatures. I do not interact with them in the wild. I leave them be. I don't really want to hear from them, but I will admire their beauty from afar. Okay, I see a young gentleman with a sort of really nice upper body build, beautiful hairline, great mustache. I'm looking. I'm staring from across. I'm across the street and I'm staring at you like this. POV, you're a man with a mustache. I'm across the street. Okay, we lock eyes. And I'm doing the Miley Cyrus stare with blue eyes, and then a bus passes in front of us, and then when the bus passes, I'm gone. That's how I feel towards men these days. So I'm like, and then the bus passes, and then I'm gone. And then he's like, what the fuck? And then he looks behind him, I'm behind him. But I never say anything. I'm moaning Myrtle. I'm like floating around him in a circle. I'm Nosferatu. You will bounce on it. That audio is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Shout out to whoever made that. Shout out to the creator who made the POV Nosferatu thing. You will bounce on it. Okay. Yeah, so just wanted to get that out of the way. I saw a TikTok this morning that about brought me to my knees. I need a man with a mustache. Bad, but not that bad. Not that bad. I'm not willing to do anything for it or risk anything for it. If it happens, it happens. Okay? And I can admire beauty when I see it, but I don't need to own it. I don't need to be in a situationship with it and have it lead me on and leave me. You know what I mean? Okay, moving on to what I really, really want to talk about. Now, here's the mother-tucking meat and potatoes of the episode that I really wanted to get into. Book club! Book club! Book club! Okay, this is the book club episode where I didn't tell you what books to prepare for, so if you've read them, great. If you haven't, you should. That's sort of what the Broski Nation book club is it could be any book in existence, and you come to book club, and I'm like, you did the assigned reading, right? And you're like, oh, what is assigned reading? And I'm like, that just docked you pay. That just docked you pay. And food. Your rations were just slashed in half because you didn't read Sherlock Holmes. And did I ever tell you to read Sherlock Holmes? No, but you should just know to. Because I'm consistently sending out telepathic messages to all of Broski Nation. Okay? If you feel a brain zap one day, that's me trying to get in there. That's me trying to get up in there. And you're resisting. And for that, I'm cutting your pay. If you hear, my right temple is pulsing, that's me being like, Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes, you will bounce on it. Let's get into it. The first book that I really want to talk about is, I recently was in, well, when I was in Paris, there is a super famous old bookstore, an English language bookstore, called Shakespeare and Company. And you know how like every city has that, it's like the famous bookstore. In New York, it's the Strand. One of them is called the Strand. There's some other super famous ones in like London, in Austin there are some. And there's one super cool in downtown Los Angeles that, it's, I could describe it, but I don't know if you guys would know the name. It's like multiple stories, and it's got an arch that's made of books. Anyway, you know, it's like an iconic bookstore. Well, it's called Shakespeare and Company in Paris, and I went with my mom. There is a line out the door to get in, first of all. And I was like, well, what the fuck's so special about this place? It's got great history there. Walt Whitman, I believe, used to frequent it. Now let me go ahead and fact check that. Shakespeare and Company. Why famous? I love why use many words when few words do trick. I'm morphing into a millennial. No! My final form. What the? I have a fuzzy mustache and glasses. A Harry Potter scar appears on my forehead. No, please. That's how I feel. When you start quoting The Office, I've never even fucking seen The Office. I just pissed myself off. I just made myself very, very irrationally mad. Ignore that. Shakespeare and Company in Paris is famous for being a literary haven for writers and a center for innovative publishing. The store has been a refuge for generations of writers, including Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and James Joyce. No fucking way. It was originally opened in 1919. It closed in 1941 during the Nazi occupation of Paris. The current incarnation of the store opened in 1951 and was renamed Shakespeare and Company in 1964 by George Whitman. Okay, so is George Whitman Walt Whitman? Walter Whitman Jr. Okay, so that's actually not, maybe George, maybe it's his son. It's his sibling. George Whitman. It's his brother. How cool. Oh, my Captain is by Walt Whitman? I had no fucking clue. I seriously had no fucking clue, y'all. Okay, back to Shakespeare and Company. So we go in, and it's relatively pretty small. Like, it's not the biggest bookstore you've ever been in, but it's honestly a great collection of a bunch of different genres, both old and new. There's a whole separate section for, like, prose and theater and plays, music, and then there's a whole section for, like, children, young adult, and then there's mystery, so then there's philosophy and whatever. Then there's actually an upstairs area where you can just go read. And of course there was a line to get up there too, which is also pressure, like I'm sitting up here reading, why is there a line of people coming up to be here? Like I have a time slot. And so we go in, and I was looking for some more Orwell, and I was also looking for, oh, I read this cute other book called Half a Soul. I'll get there in a second. But I was looking for some more books like that, you know, like a sort of romantasy, but also any classics I could find if they were printed in a cool cover. So I'm just sort of perusing, and I come across A Study in Scarlet, which is a Sherlock Holmes novella. One of the first major ones that sort of everything after that started the Sherlock Holmes franchise, so to speak. At least the massive popularity of it. Study in Scarlet was published in 1887, I want to say. 1887, I'm a genius. It was published in 1887, and honestly, so Arthur Conan Doyle, you hear about him a lot. He is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He's the famous creator of the Sherlock Holmes character and world, and he himself is a very interesting person. trained as a doctor. He was a military man as well. And a lot of I would say, of course, you write what you know. A lot of the wherewithal that both Holmes and Dr. Watson have come from Arthur Conan Doyle, because of course they do. And the actual character of Sherlock Holmes and all of his eccentricities was based on an old professor that Arthur Conan Doyle had when he was in school. Just this sort of batty old professor who could make incredible conclusions or deductions from the smallest of details. And that's sort of the whole idea of what Sherlock Holmes is. If you've never read any of his stories, if you've never seen the show or any of the movies, if you just know him as, the silly character with a pipe and the little hat, it is so worth the read. Sherlock Holmes, y'all know that I love a quirky, hyper-intelligent protagonist. And not in a sort of cringe way, but in a he's so genius, he's misunderstood type of way. I think those characters are so magnetic. And a few off the top of my head are sort of going to be like a Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. Definitely like a Sherlock Holmes. Definitely like, and I'm going to throw another Robert Downey Jr. in there. I'm actually going to, Mandalorian's another one. These characters that just like seem to have all the answers. And even if they don't, they fake like they do, and then they figure it out. And they do that using the information available to them. Like at any given time, you're capable of, it's just, okay, you get what I'm trying to say. So Arthur Conan Doyle creating Sherlock Holmes was a sort of passing, it was a short story at first that he published in either a newspaper or a magazine. People fucking loved it. He was a man of many different disciplines. I mean, he lived many lives in the 60, 70 years that he lived. And just through all those different fields of study or interest, like chemistry, like medicine, like language, like travel, all of these things, he was very well traveled, had a good grasp of understanding on the world. Later in his life, however, he had a very intense interest in spiritualism, which honestly, the more that I was reading about Arthur Conan Doyle, I was like, that makes so much sense, because there is this sort of mysticism to Holmes where he is, of course, a realist, and he's very tapped into human nature despite being so unhuman himself. He doesn't give in to the temptations or even have the urges of like a romantic relationship or any desires that the normal person would have of like greed, envy, this, that, but his mind rebels at the idea of what a Victorian English society is, and he was able to look at it with a critical eye, while at the same time, because no human is truly black or white, it's very nuanced, he's able to look at society with a very critical eye, and in fact, give more credibility to the lower classes than the upper classes, because the lower classes, he had a sense of shared sense of identity with them, I guess, where, he was well-to-do because he was a detective, a private consulting detective, that he made a livable wage, of course, but yeah, I mean, I think he finds that there's a raw honesty and a respectable sort of struggle within the lower class that he was much more willing to take on those cases, of course, with a shared interest in the upper nobility cases as well, because those are fucking key. And across the board, human nature is the same. And those are sort of the conclusions that he's able to come to. It doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're poor, whatever. Human nature is human nature. Conan Doyle's interest in spiritualism, while at the same time the natural sciences, whatever, make for a very interesting character, because those two things are opposed. And the beautiful thing about Sherlock Holmes and the way that these stories are told is that it differs from the sort of contemporary detective novel of the time, which, by the way, most were written by women. Love. But there are two sort of distinctive ways of writing a detective novel, and there was the sort of archetype that a lot of these women followed, and then there was Arthur Conan Doyle's, which was told through the lens of Sherlock Holmes's counterpart, Dr. John Watson. And they come to know each other through a sort of seeking a roommate arrangement where they actually move in together. They meet each other and get along quite well, move in, and Dr. Watson, who is an Afghan war veteran, used to be a doctor in the military, becomes taken with Holmes. He is a mystery to him. He's intrigued by Sherlock Holmes, his comings and goings. He starts studying him almost as a sort of patient. And all the while, he's recording the escapades that Holmes goes on, the cases that are brought to him, how he reasons through them using purely logic and observation. And Holmes's whole philosophy is, you see, but you do not observe. And one of the examples that he gives, and I think it's Scandal in Bohemia, he says, how many times have you walked up the staircase here at this apartment? And Watson's like, hundreds of times. I mean, I lived here for, however long. And Holmes goes, how many steps are on the staircase? And Watson's like, I don't fucking know. I didn't count. And he goes, yes, exactly. That's it. You see, but you do not observe. A lot of the time, what Holmes's process is you take in I'm addicted to Sherlock Holmes. I have a tattoo about it. You take in the details of someone. From the details of markings on someone's skin, the state of their shoes, of the knees of their trousers for a man, or the gloves of a woman, things like this, ink stains, anything like this can really give you insight into who is this person? What do they do? I've just met them, they're a stranger to me, but off the bat, give me 5 minutes of observation and I can tell you most likely their occupation, what troubles them, and as they're describing the predicament they're in, context clues of what they have on, or the particular ways in which they're behaving can lend itself to you helping figure it out. You know what I mean? It's as much a game of criminal investigation as it is just deducing human nature and how we lie. We think we're really sneaky when we lie. We're not. If to the trained eye, when someone's lying, and there's telltale signs. So he incorporates all of these things, and he reveals his method at the end. So here's an example as well. I was like, I love him so much. Dr. Watson and Holmes are no longer roommates. Watson moves out, he gets married. He comes back to visit Holmes. And Holmes is, a tweaker, like always. He's on coke, or he's doing this. He was addicted to opium. He's whatever. I've come across this incredible discovery. And it's like super... I love a character like that. He's not really there with you, but at the same time, he's very there. And Watson walks up the stairs. They haven't seen each other in a few months. And the first thing Holmes says is, you've gained weight. 7.5 pounds. And I see you're back in practice. And, something, and you've been experimenting with something. And Watson goes, how the fuck did you know that? Oh, and he said, you've been out in the country, it's been wet recently. Where did you go? And Watson's like, what the fuck? He had a top hat on. It had a bulge in it at the top. A slight smell of, I forget the exact term they use, but it's essentially like a cleansing agent, like a chloroform or like a formaldehyde type of smell that was used a lot back then in laboratories. And Holmes goes, I see what could only be a stethoscope hidden secretly in your top hat, protruding and making a weird mark. You smell like whatever this chemical was that is used in medical offices. Your shoes have some scoring on them from where it looks like your housemaid tried to scrape off mud, but she's not skilled, and so she scraped your shoes. There's still mud left on them. On top of that, something like one of your hands is more swollen than the other. It's all these different things where he's like, it's very easy, really, if you know what to look for. And, of course, he has an existing relationship with Watson where he knows he's been a doctor, he just got married, all these things. So it's using logic as well as deductive clues. Like, he's married. Of course, he's probably put on some weight because when you're in a happy relationship, you probably gain weight. he's moved out, so he's no longer assisting Holmes in his investigations and getting some of that money, so he's supporting himself somehow. It must be through the medical profession, because that's what he is. He's a doctor. So, it's all these things where it all just comes together, but when he delivers that, I say you've gained weight and you're back in practice again. And I say there's some where he's like, it's just psychotic. He's like, and the carriage that got here, the carriage that brought them here, the front left horse had a lame leg. And shit like that. And he sees it all from just the carriage wheel markings in the mud, and how the horse was standing and holding his leg, just shit like that, where I'm like, okay, girl, it's fantastical because it's a book and it's fun to read. I don't know how realistic that is, but it definitely makes for a fun story. Anyway, I finished studying Scarlet, and there is a whole collection of Sherlock Holmes novels. And to be frank, Sherlock Holmes was a creation that Arthur Conan Doyle kind of came to resent. Sherlock Holmes kept the lights on for him, but he did not really enjoy returning to Holmes. He tried to kill him off. This isn't a spoiler because this book is about 200 years old almost. He kills off Holmes and his greatest adversary, Professor Moriarty. But then later, at the request of, I think, one of the publication houses, or just the fan base, I guess, revived him and started writing some form of prequel books to his death, like some additional stories, like right before he died, and things like that. And it's definitely interesting to think what an incredible character that he created, inspired by someone he knew in his real life, and elements of himself. What an incredibly interesting thing. And the reason it works, okay, let's break this down. The reason that it works is because Sherlock Holmes' escapades are told to you through the lens of awe of Dr. Watson. Dr. Watson is so taken by Holmes, both in a sort of, this guy's really fucking weird sort of way, and also he is just in constant awe of the talent and skill and intellect that Holmes possesses. And so the publications of, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes are detailed in the diary and journals of Dr. Watson. And he recalls where they were, what Holmes was wearing, where Holmes disappeared to, and when he came back, and what he was doing, and what they talked about, and all this. I think that really gives Holmes an air of mystery. And you would not be able to get that same air of mystery if it was written from Holmes' perspective. And I think that's what a lot of other detective novels do. And I'm not going to say that that's what they get wrong, but I'm going to say that's what makes Arthur Conan Doyle's work stand out, is that here is this intriguing, mysterious, elusive figure that you want desperately to know more about. But you can only know as much as Dr. Watson gives you, because it's really limited to the interactions they have. We don't have a first-hand account. He even says that in some of these stories. It was months in between me seeing Holmes, and other than the occasional murder case solved in the paper, he didn't know what Holmes was up to. And it's a fun check-in every time they get back together and Watson joins him on another adventure. Is what's he into now? What's he been studying lately? What's new? How have world crises changed it? If he writes in any of the wars or whatever. So it's I am loving it. Okay? I love Sherlock Holmes. This episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. Why is it that when we need a new doctor, our first instinct is to post in that group chat, anybody know a good PCP or OBGYN? I'm guilty of doing it. But I always end up finding out that the recommendation is not in-network or the office is too far from my house. Enter ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, and are a good fit for any medical need you may have. Also, with hundreds of verified patient reviews, you can find the type of care and support you're looking for, from good bedside manner to fast wait times to doctors with the best listening skills. Once you find the right doctor, you can see their actual appointment openings, Choose a time slot that works for you and click to instantly book a visit. Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. I used ZocDoc to find my dermatologist, and he's awesome. I get real freaked out about skin stuff, and he's super easy to book an appointment with, so my anxiety doesn't fester. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/broski to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/broski. ZocDoc.com/broski. And this is another, because I read like an introduction to one of these books. One of the people who wrote the introduction said something to the effect of, it is quite often the works that took minimal effort, almost a lazy sort of effort, versus the works that you pour your heart and soul into. The relationship that those two variables have to commercial success, it is astounding how the least amount of effort you put in, those are what do well. And that really struck a chord with me, because I remember during 2020 or even 2019, like when TikTok had just happened and I was just posting shitty little stupid videos and people were loving them, I would sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna take this shit serious. Right after I got fired, I got my first brand deal, I was like, okay, here we go, I'm locking in. I would write out skits, or I would find one of those stupid AR filters and write an entire skit around it. I would write bullet points down, multiple different alternate takes of the whatever, and I would film it and edit it and upload it, and that wouldn't do as well as me being on the toilet being like, I'm shitting my fucking brains out, and then me burping. Like, those would do millions, and then me doing an actual skit, you know. And that's not to say that some of the skits didn't do well as well, but it was just this, I remember being so frustrated. Or even tweets, like I would tweet and be like, something really stupid, and that would go viral. And then I'd actually sit down and think of a punchline, and my comedian friends would be like, this is so funny. And then the general public would be like, not loving this one. And I remember being like, am I just an idiot? Am I not that funny? But no, it's something to be said about, I think when you reach the most people, and unfortunately, as we know, the sort of general voting populace is quite stupid. I think it's that. I think Arthur Conan Doyle wanted to make these hyper-intellectual novels about shit no one cared about. No one gives a fuck. But it was important to him, and so he wrote that shit for himself and probably for other academics in his community who were interested in spiritualism and whatever. No one gives a fuck, okay? He wrote Sherlock Holmes as a sort of, I give it to whatever. And then it had immense success. And he was almost pissed off that that's what struck the fancy of the public and not this actual work that he cared about. And I would say, by and large, most artists have that experience where it's like, really? This is what y'all are liking? That's my least favorite thing I've ever made. But this kept this kept Arthur Conan Doyle's lights on. It paid him very well. He lived a very comfortable life. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting thing. So, I bought Study in Scarlet, finished it in, 2-3 days. Love. And I think also, I mean, you know, the older you get, you never stop meeting yourself. You never stop meeting yourself and finding out things about you and who you are and what you like. And I've always had a flair for maximalism. You can't tell. I love just, like, almost annoying, superfluous, ostentatious maximalism. Gilded ceilings, you know, suede velvet walls, and paintings everywhere, and wainscoting, and this and that. Like, that's the sort of interior that I like. I like art that's maximalist, and impressionist, and hyper-realist, and this and that. Books and prose like this, as it tells a story, because there's two different sides of it, right? I always think Arthur Conan Doyle, or a compelling adventure novel from the 19th century, is different in terms of, like, being verbose than like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. If y'all ever had to read that book in school, oh my fucking god, who gives a shit? 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I'm talking like 75 pages straight of describing kelp. It was so verbose, it like pissed me off. So there's a balance, right, of maximalism and of using the English language as a form of an artistic medium. The way that an artist paints onto a canvas to create something that is artistic and beautiful, an author uses the English language, or whatever language, to do the same in literature. And it really takes an artist to craft a story in a way that is compelling, makes me want to read it to the very end, and incorporates just, honestly, really great language. Because you can read as many romantic novels as you want, but I don't know if that's improving your brain, if that's, creating neural pathways in your brain. I read books like this, and I finish it, and I'm like, that was compelling. It kept my attention, and I learned something along the way. I keep my phone nearby as I'm reading these, because I've got that dictionary app open. I am dictionary apping it. I'm probably the #1 user of the dictionary app. Like, I think that as time progresses, and of course Arthur Conan Doyle was an English author, the sort of choices that an English author uses to write a story versus what an American author uses, of course they're distinct. They're not that different, but it's noticeable for me. It makes me glad that I have at least a sort of contextual understanding of how they spoke, because otherwise, if I was just reading this, like raw dogging Sherlock Holmes, and I wasn't familiar with British culture, or especially Victorian culture, I'd be like, why do they talk like that? Like, it does not make sense. But of course, that's one of my special interests, is etymology, and how syntax and grammar and all these things come to be, and how they come to be out of fashion, and how we change and swap things out to make it more modern, and, what our vernacular is, and how, we lost the British U in, like, color and glamour. Actually, it's still in glamour. But you know what I mean. Why do these changes happen, and what is the significance of them? And it's very interesting to read these because it's so indicative of its time. And I love that. I want to feel like I am existing in the world that Holmes is in. And I think Doyle did a great job of really throwing you headfirst into nasty Victorian London. And that's another thing that he gets praised for, is he's not showing you, like for example, there's a Sherlock Holmes short called Scandal in Bohemia, which Bohemia is now I believe it's in the Czech Republic, but it's been owned by a few, it's kind of like a Texas. Like, Texas has been owned by so many different countries, and now it's Texas, but now Bohemia is in the Czech Republic. Anyway, there's a story where the king of Bohemia comes to consult Sherlock Holmes because there is a compromising photograph of him and a woman, and he needs Holmes' help locating the photograph and destroying it, so as it cannot be used as blackmail later. It shows the scandal of the upper, nobility and things like that, where these matters must be handled privately, you see. It shows that, while at the same time showing the really dirty, unseen corners of Victorian London. Like I mentioned earlier, sort of like the opium crisis that was happening, and other sort of just taboo things. They talk about brothels and some known streets where madames are, and the sort of underbelly of London, of industrial London, that is not, it's not a shining example of what the British Empire wanted to be known for, and I think that it's an important choice that Doyle made, to be like, this is what I want to talk about, and it's shocking, and it's real. And although these stories are set, they're fictitious stories, they're in a very real circumstance, in a very real narrative context. So I appreciate that, because, yeah, I don't want to hear about how fucking great the British Empire is. I want to know about how it sucks, and the forgotten corners of it. Another thing I was going to say about Holmes is, he's so incredibly beautifully critical of Victorian society and, you know, how people compose themselves and behave, while at the same time being a loyalist to the king. Very complex, very nuanced, very, you know, you want to love Holmes and all of his eccentricities, but that's one I can't really get behind. And it's at odds with everything about Holmes. You know, he's always, I don't know, just to be for father and country. It's just a crazy choice. Which makes me think, was Arthur Conan Doyle a monarchical loyalist? Who's to say? Okay, anyway, here are some other just book-related things that I kind of wanted to get into. Another thing I learned from Sherlock Holmes, again, just like mentally living in this Victorian time, women who have been married would sign their name like this. So let's say, who the fuck am I marrying? Sort of like a Cillian Murphy type situation, okay? So this would be how I would type my name if I was recently married in Victorian London. If you guys care. Brittany. Sorry, if I was recently married to Cillian Murphy in Victorian London, okay? Brittany Murphy. Nay. Broski. Okay? That is how it keeps your maiden name, so it's not confusing. Now, listen to this. Then I started to wonder, did this come from, because Nay means born, which honestly makes sense because in Spanish it's nací, like I was born here, or I was born this name, I was born whatever, nací. This is, to me, when I hear Nay, I think of someone being like, spoiled, nay, rotten. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you have a word, and then you've thought of a better word, or you've thought of a contradicting word, and you say, nay, this. But it's not, because that's spelled N-A-Y. So I don't know why I brought that up, because I thought they'd be related, and they're not. Okay? So that's a cute little fun fact for you guys. Okay, here are two other books that I want to talk about, very quickly. I finished this book that was just a cute little recommendation from TikTok called Half a Soul. Oh my god! Stop! 5 stars. 5 stars. It's a standalone book. This book is a Regency fairy tale. Hey, I'm locked the fuck in. Regency era my penis just got hard. My dick just got hard because the wire just hit. You know what I'm saying? This book was so fucking cute. It was so well written. It is about Regency era London, where this family lives in the countryside, and they're brought to London for, what's that called? For the season and the time. It's very Bridgerton coded, okay? It uses all the same terms, all the same sort of social expectations and faux pas, whatever. It kept my attention the whole time. It is not enemies to lovers, but I would say it's a sort of strangers to lovers. Strangers to friends to close confidant to lovers. And it's just a very simple, well-written story. The magic is easy to understand. They play with different realms without it being too overwhelming. The love story is so cute. It's not smutty. It's just a cute little story. And I was like, oh my god, I wish these characters would continue into a second and third book, and they don't. But this author, let me look up her name. This author does a series called Regency Fairy Tales. And so there's Olivia Atwater. So there's other stories, but they don't have my beloved characters, who are named Dora and Elias, Lord Saucier, Elias. Anyway, this book, I cannot recommend it enough. If you're looking for just a short little palate cleansing read, loved this. Loved it. I also read, let's talk about this for a second, okay? I will not be reading Onyx Storm, and let me tell you why. Not a big fan of Rebecca Yarros, the person. Some of her politics are kind of concerning to me. And then I have heard nothing but negative reviews about Onyx Storm. They're saying that this feels like they're calling it the ninth Star Wars movie. They're saying it's very bad, very bad. And I was like, I don't want to spend $30 fucking on a hardback copy of Onyx Storm just for it to piss me off. People are saying that it is no more storyline than Iron Flame, which is about to piss me off, because Iron Flame was bad. It felt like she wrote herself into a wall when it came to the magic system. I don't know how your magic system works because you don't know how your magic system works. How am I supposed to follow along with you? What the fuck is a ward? What is a ward? And then the dragons are mad at each other, and then they're mad at each other, and then they're fucking, and then they're horny, and then but they won't fuck. And then I also saw some spoilers, because who gives a fuck, that she writes it in like a Gen Z vernacular. That part. That's not how I expected my Monday to go. Like that type of shit, where I'm like, I don't want to. This is a romantasy. Put me in that world. I'm trying to escape from my world. I don't want to read TikTok language in my fucking book. For that reason, it doesn't expand upon the narrative that the cliffhanger left us on in Iron Flame. It's more miscommunication trope, which is my worst. It is my least favorite thing you could ever put in a book. It's two characters willfully misunderstanding each other with no conflict resolution skills. That's gonna piss me off. I don't even know if I think I was seeing some notes about it being smutty, but it's like almost forced. Like it felt, I'm not interested. And that is such a shame because I really enjoyed Fourth Wing. I think it set up a beautiful world and a cool place for the story to go. There was some unnecessary tragedy in Iron Flame. Onyx Storm, I'm not interested. And it's so thick. And so I'm seeing these people finish the book and be like, what the fuck happened? And that is a poorly written book. If you're at the end of the book like, what the fuck did I just read? That's bad. And then I saw another stat the other day that was like, Onyx Storm is the fastest selling book in the last 20 years. And I was like, what a fucking joke. So, I'm not really interested. If y'all are, well, what's her Onyx Storm? Not reading it. I don't really give a shit. Okay, some other things really, really quick. I went to Fashion Week. What the fuck? Who let me into Fashion Week? I went with Patu. The most fun you could ever think of. Went with Patu. They dressed me and my mom so sweet. We had a blast. It's also, can I just say, like as a child of Tumblr, where I've been exposed to like Jean-Paul Gaultier, Runway 2003, fucking all that shit since Tumblr, and thinking, this feels like a different world. I will never be in this world, especially as a bigger person. It is psychotic to now be like, I'm sitting front row at some of these shows. Patu is, I love Patu. I felt like a bad bitch in that outfit. And it's so playful and fun, and it plays with shapes and textures, and Zoe Deschanel was there, and Mindy Kaling, and it's just cool. It was very, very cool. And I'm just shocked that, like, I'm in that conversation, you know what I mean? I'm so grateful. I had such a fucking blast. But, yeah, that was something that, shout out Patu for being size inclusive, because that's a big thing, you know, we've been talking about this for a while, me and Team Broski, of like, I've always been interested in fashion, and it's fun. Fashion is fun. It's fun to take risks in and do something interesting. No one wants to see you in a bodycon dress on the fucking carpet, girl. Give us something. And some fun glam. Like, that's why people gag for chapels, because here's someone with a fucking vision. Here's someone with a vision. Please, God. So I think it's fun, you know, like, when I do a carpet, when I did the Wicked carpet, or Gladiator, or any of the Star Wars carpets I've been to, play with that. Don't make it a costume, but play with it as a sort of visual inspiration. And me and my stylist, Kat Spaldos, we fucking eat. It is fun. And I'm not really worried about being like the most glamorous bit. I want to be the most interesting, like, but with a very polished taste level. That's where I'm coming from. Growing up and trying to find brands that, first of all, even give a shit about big fat bitches like me, it's like I can't understand for the life of me why it's so fucking hard. Just make it a little bigger. It's because some of these companies have a complex about dressing fat bodies, and they need to get over it. It's really nasty. So, shout out to Patu, because they have a pretty size inclusive range. I was shocked that it fit me, and I was like, this is great. So I think more of these designer houses need to... Oh my god, Gautier actually did they had a bigger girl in their runway show, and I was like, thank fuck! My god! It's just awesome. It's awesome to see, because... And I don't want to say this in a way that pits bodies against each other. That's not what I mean by this. But what I mean to say is sometimes a garment can be sold better if it's on a curvy body. I believe it. You know what I mean? It's all the sensual essence of a woman in couture like that, or in a gown or a garment that just, there's something about a fuller body that shows it off. You know what I mean? Like the beautiful shapes and textures. And I think that for whatever reason, we're back in this like Kate Moss, Coke head runway model era where it's all about getting thin. Get skinny, get skinny, get skinny. And I don't know if that, you know, like, we're just really not in a mental headspace right now as a country to bring that back when, you know, it's just overwhelming and exhausting all the time. Eggs are about to be $15 a carton, and gas is going to be $150 to fill up your fucking tank, and it's just like, and we're having an ED crisis on top of that. Give me a fucking break. So, I don't know. The one good thing I will say about whatever the fuck is about to happen politically and in the country is hopefully recession pop is back. Bring back recession pop. We need to get back into the club. I've been seeing a lot of sort of, you know, we're all in agreement here that when shit like this happens, there needs to be an outlet of joy. There needs to be an outpouring of love in a community and celebrating life with people that give a shit about you, and then we tackle the problems of tomorrow together. You know what I mean? Like, it goes hand in hand. It can't just all be doom scrolling and fucking, this country's all the time. Like, find pockets of joy for yourself. So I will leave you with that. And I want to say the song of the week is, one second. Okay, I've got two songs of the week. One of them is Café con Ron, por by Bonnie, and the other one is Arm's Length by Sam Fender. Those are my two songs of the week. Sam Fender going on tour. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, love you guys. If you want merch, go to broski.shop. That's pretty much all I have to say. Go watch Royal Court. Go watch Royal Court. Please go watch it. Go subscribe to it. I'm not joking anymore. Okay, love you guys. Bye.